Welcome to the Therapist HQ, your weekly pep talk for private practice pros. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Therapist HQ. My name is Alicia Murray, and as always, I am so glad that you are here. We are going to be diving right into a topic that I think is already on a lot of people's minds, but more so this week after this bombshell that Alma paired with Aetna just dropped on practitioners of all shapes and sizes. So today we are going to be deep diving into how to successfully transition off of insurance panels towards a private pay model without your practice imploding, without losing all of your clients, or in a way that you are able to easily build back up your caseload. So a little bit of background for anybody who is not aware of what's going on or just wants everything summarized as quickly and efficiently as possible. Just this week, actually just yesterday at the time that this recording is going to come out, I just introduced a huge shocking blow to therapists, and that is that they are going to be eliminating reimbursement for 90837 codes that are billed to Aetna, which is the traditional like 53-minute plus, so 53 to 60-minute sessions for therapy. And even if these therapy sessions are taking place, which again is the majority of the time, Aetna is only going to be reimbursing at the 30 to 45-minute fee, which traditionally is drastically lower than what that reimbursement would be for the 53 minutes. This means that some therapists have just lost upwards of $70 to $100 of reimbursement per therapy session. If we're timesing that by an entire caseload, 10 clients a week, 15 clients a week, 20 clients a week that fall under Aetna and are billed through Alma, this could be catastrophic to both the therapist and to the client. So there's a lot to talk about here, right? Systemically, how did we get here? How insane it is that insurance companies are even able to do this, especially at this magnitude, and the devastating impact that this has on clients. But given there is a lot of room to cover here, I want to keep today's episode really focused on action, right? So this is for you, the therapist in your private practice. We're going to keep this focused on action that you can take to safeguard your practice. And I think that a really scary but often necessary action that we need to take is to come off of insurance panels and to explore the private pay route to provide therapy, what that looks like, how to make that transition, and what we sort of do from here in these times where insurance companies can quite literally bankrupt our practice overnight. And I think, unfortunately, we are seeing this play out in real time, and it's just really devastating, right? It's really heartbreaking. And I hate to see therapists going through this. You guys know that all through my time helping therapists to start their practice, grow their practice, transition into different practice models, I come from a place of, yes, I do think private pay is the best place to be with your practice, even doing so with out of network, which is exactly how my group practice runs. I also come from a place of zero judgment if therapists are choosing to work with these bigger tech companies or to panel themselves with insurance. Like, I know that everybody's journey is different, and I know that everybody's economic situation is different. Their ability to market themselves is different. And at the end of the day, I want to be sure that your practice is sustainable, that it has good systems in place, and that there is longevity in place for you to continue doing the work you love, which is being a therapist. And unfortunately, with the situation with Aetna and Alma, we are pretty much pulling the rug out from clinicians and removing their ability to have a sustainable practice, removing their ability to pay themselves, and ultimately, this could lead to practices closing. So let's dive right in, shall we? So I want you to think about feelings that come up when I say drop insurance panels or go private pay in your practice, because even though those terms do get tossed around, I don't think that anybody is spending enough time sort of pausing on those and thinking about what are these feelings that are coming up when someone says to you, well, why don't you just drop the insurance panels? Why don't you just go private pay? What do you think that those fears are rooted in? And I want you to keep in mind the quality of care that you're providing, right? I want you to keep in mind your overhead, which is only going up every year, at least based on my own personal books. I want you to keep in mind rising costs that go into everything that we do, both in our personal life and in our business. Continuing education and trainings. Almost every therapist I know just wants to be a better, more informed therapist. And there is a bit of gatekeeping to that in the mental health world. There is a fee, a nominal fee that you have to pay to attend these trainings, to obtain our continuing education. And again, that all comes back to money that we need to spend. So when we talk about dropping your insurance panels and going private pay, even with all of those factors in mind, where does this fear come from that we can't or won't charge what our services are worth? And it also makes me think about, like, what is the cost of not doing anything? Because we have these feelings of fear and hesitation that come up when somebody says, just drop the insurance panel, just get off insurance, just be a private pay practitioner. And I think we are able to maybe a little bit more easily identify the fear in that. We have fear of our clients all leaving because they can't afford services. We have fears of not being able to fill those spots that open up or to fill future spots that open up because now it will be fully private pay with no option to take on folks that are in network. We have a fear of our practice closing, right? Of truly not being able to fill these spots to the point that we have to go back to agency work or back to working with a group practice. But what is the cost of not doing anything? We don't want to be ruminating about our finances during sessions with our clients. And we also don't want to set ourselves up to have to close down our practice down the road, which would then be this ripple effect of being a disservice to our clients and future potential clients and to ourselves alike. So I understand there is a lot of mindset work that needs to happen around this because it is scary to alter the sales in our business. It is scary to alter the payment structure around our business. But I think that more and more it is being tangibly presented to therapists of what that other side looks like, of what is the cost of doing nothing. What is the cost of being subjected to whatever it is that insurance is dictating that we can do or can't do or can be paid or won't be paid within our practice? So, in that same vein, I think it's really important to assess the current state of your practice, right? It can be really hard to get a full picture of what is going on in our practice when we are in the epicenter of it. And during hard times, it can feel like we are quite literally in the eye of the storm. But I want you to pick your head up for a second, right? And I'm going to be right there alongside you. If you are in network with insurance, I want you to think through what that is looking like for you currently. How quickly are you being reimbursed for sessions? Have you experienced any delays in payments or even clawbacks where they are asking for reimbursement to be paid back to them? How many clients are you seeing to meet your financial goals? And does that number feel sustainable and doable for you? How many admin hours are you doing each week in order to get paid by insurance? So this could be submitting claims, following up on claims that are denied, chasing claims that have not been paid yet, the time spent on the phone with insurance or mailing things into insurance or faxing things into insurance. That is all time that either could be yours personally or that you could be spending seeing more clients if that is something that you want to do. These answers should give you some clarity into your current standing with your payment model. Is it working? Is it sustainable? Does it feel good to you? And does it feel worth it? That is just as an aside, something that I have been reading a lot on social media when I posted about everything going on with Aetna and Alma and, therapists leaving insurance. And a lot of therapists are coming forth with these feelings of like, this just doesn't feel worth it to me. Like, this just doesn't feel worth maintaining my professional license, worth doing this really hard work with clients. This just doesn't feel worth it. And that is not a good feeling to have. And it's really disappointing that this larger system has pushed therapists there. In terms of making the switch, so making the switch from being in network to moving towards a more private pay model. There are scary parts to this that I feel like not a lot of people want to talk about, but you know that I will. You know that I will talk about the scary parts and weigh our options and see what is going to be best for you. There are a few ways to go about making the switch off of insurance panels to private pay, and I want to be fully transparent. Because while I never have been personally paneled with insurance companies, I did transition myself from seeing clients on Headway to almost fully private pay. And my entire group practice, which has 6 fully licensed clinicians right now, is fully private pay with out of network billing, which before we move on is honestly the perfect time to talk about today's sponsor. Because out of network billing can feel intimidating, right? We're tapping into a new part of a client's insurance that most likely they have never utilized either. Mentaya works to make this process seamless. Therapists can add a benefit checker right to their website or directory listing where clients can check their out of network benefits in seconds. From there, they know exactly how much insurance is going to reimburse for each session. This means the therapist gets their full private pay rate and the client is able to easily submit the claim to their insurance for reimbursement. The best part is that for clients to submit claims through Mentaya, it is completely free for the provider. The client simply pays 5% of the claim and the provider still gets their full session fee. If you want to try out Mentaya's benefit checker free for 30 days, you can use code TherapistHQ. I will also have it linked in the show notes for you to get started as well. Mentaya means fewer barriers and more clients in the room. So let me give you a little brief about my own journey with this, just so we're all on the same page about where I'm coming from. And I have also worked with lots of therapists who have transitioned very successfully from insurance to private pay. So when I first started my practice in 2020, I started off as being fully private pay. I had my rate, I think my rate at the time was 140 or 150. And then the pandemic hit 3 months after I started my practice, and I admittedly panicked a little bit and wanted to recession proof my practice, if you will. Headway was very new at that time. Like, I feel like I was one of the first 100 or 200 clinicians that signed on to Headway. So I joined on. I began seeing clients through insurance through them, but not even 6 months in, I realized that the private pay part of my practice was still very much booming, and I didn't really need to utilize insurance like the fears inside of me thought that I would in order to be full. So I stopped taking on any new insurance clients. Over the next 6 months, a lot of my insurance clients terminated naturally, and I continued to build out the private pay part of my practice. And to date, 6 years later, I do still have 2 clients that I see and I bill through Headway. This is a very personal decision that I have made in order to provide their ongoing care. And it's something that I'm able to do despite the lower rates, despite any delays that may happen in payments, or if they do decide to claw back any of the session fees, because of these alternative revenue streams that I have, because I have a fair private pay rate for the other clients in my practice, so on and so forth. So all that to say, how does one make the transition off of insurance panels? The first way, which cue the fear, okay, is cold turkey. And I have to admit, this one is quicker, obviously, but it definitely needs a very solid marketing plan and stream of referrals behind it. If we are going to be hard launching private pay in our practice, this means that you would give your insurance clients a 30 or 60-day notice that you would no longer be accepting their insurance and you would be switching to private pay. You would share with them what your private pay rate would be. You could offer to explore their out-of-network benefits or have them look directly using your Mentaya benefits checker and ease some of the burden of the cost by tapping into those out-of-network benefits. The obvious pros of this is that you can very quickly adjust your business positioning to ensure that you aren't going to experience, any kind of devastating financial loss due to insurance, lowering your reimbursement, discontinuing coverage, etc. The cons of going cold turkey with cutting off insurance and moving very quickly to private pay is that some clients may not continue to work with you due to financial barriers, and you will have some empty slots to fill. This is where your networking and your marketing needs to be rock solid. At this point, I would recommend having 1 to 2 really, really solid marketing techniques, one online, one in person, and going full force into these to share your availability, who you work with, your ideal client, and that you are going to or currently have immediate openings. The next way that you can transition from insurance to private pay is a gradual shift. So you could stop taking on any new insurance clients and only market to and accept private pay clients. A really big caveat to this is to check your current contract if you are personally paneled with insurance, because some contracts will require you to accept insurance clients if you have open availability, which eliminates the potential to use this strategy because you're not allowed to only accept private pay clients if you have availability to take on new clients. On the other side, if you are credentialed through a bigger company like Headway or Alma, this will not be a problem as you are paneled through their group NPI. And so you can discontinue taking on new insurance clients whenever you would like. You can also, because you are paneled through a group NPI and not a personal NPI, it is no problem at all to submit out of network claims, even if you are in network through Headway or Alma. So, for example, if you are in network with United Healthcare through Headway, you can also see a client fully private pay and have them submit their out of network claim to their insurance, United Healthcare, and they will still be reimbursed because it goes by your personal NPI if you are seeing them private pay through your practice. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If you have any questions, please, please, please let me know. But essentially, the group NPI is far less severe and all encompassing than a group NPI. So with this gradual shift from insurance to private pay, the pro of this is that you aren't going to experience as drastic of a shift in your caseload as you would be if you were working to only fill upcoming available slots. Your caseload wouldn't have this dramatic decrease in your clients because you're not releasing all of your insurance clients at once, right? You're simply using your open slots to transition over to private pay. The cons, or even like I would say just difficulties with this, is that your marketing is still going to need to shift towards clients that can afford your private pay rate, which is completely possible. It just is a shift in your marketing to be able to do so. A third way to make the shift from insurance to private pay, which is for maybe a unique position that a therapist is in, is to discontinue just 1 or 2 panels and then sort of combine this first and second way that we just talked about. Because some therapists are paneled with various insurance companies individually and then may even have additional group panelings through the bigger tech companies. If this is the case, I would write down every single company you are either individually paneled with or paneled with through a group, look at the reimbursement rates and the ease of being reimbursed, and figure out which panels you can begin to drop. For example, I know of a colleague of mine who is paneled with Fidelis and the reimbursement rate is fine, but they are about getting paid. They will find every reason possible to not pay out the reimbursements. They have engaged in clawbacks before. I think multiple times they have come back. So it's like, is that higher reimbursement rate worth this administrative headache and this uncertainty of you getting paid and staying paid? And there are a few things to note with all of this, any route that you decide to take. First and foremost is to always, always, always check your contracts, okay? Being paneled through a group NPI, through one of these bigger tech companies, like I said, will always be a bit of an easier transition, a bit of an easier way out, but it is still going to require certain notices to be put in place, usually like a 30 or a 60 or a 90-day notice with this tech company in order to completely detransition off. If you are a part of the HQ community, you can actually upload your insurance contracts right into the Sidekick, and it will help you navigate what you are bound to and how you can begin your transition out of the contract. An additional thing to look for is to be clear with yourself on these sliding scale spots that you are able to give before you begin these conversations of detransitioning with your clients. So if you're only able to reduce your fee for 5 clients on your caseload, you need to make sure that you're sticking to that, or you are going to find yourself taking on more clients or continuing to feel a financial strain, even though you are fully private pay. And the last thing to be aware of throughout this transition is to know that you can do it and it does not have to be catastrophic. I hear from therapists all the time that they feel like their practice is going to quite literally implode if they make such a drastic shift. And I totally hear that. And I understand the fears that are fueling this belief, but that doesn't make it true, right? We're therapists. We know this. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of successful practices out there that run fully private pay, mine is included. We just need the right systems and the right marketing in place to do so. Okay, deep breath. And we are going to dive in to Therapist in the Threads, which is my favorite part of the podcast, where we dive into a thread on Reddit that is centered around what we talked about today. And I think that today's thread is really actually going to be a breath of fresh air. So this will be a very good note to end on. So this comes from r/psychotherapists. And it is titled Leaving Insurance. And the poster says, "Hello all. I am a career therapist and LPC in Portland, Oregon, and I'm considering leaving all insurance for private pay only after the money lost, hours spent, and general disgust with insurance companies. I work part-time and plan to retire in maybe 3 to 4 years. Please share your experience with this dilemma, your success, your missteps, whatever you've learned about this topic. I have a good reputation in the field, but have been lazy about needing to advertise. I just use a website and Psychology Today because who needs to work at filling a schedule when you're on a panel?" The first commenter says, "I'm in a similar position. Years ago, I started with a half dozen insurance companies and some were better than others. Every year, I looked at what I was getting from them and what it was costing me in terms of time and effort. None of them kept up with market rates, but some were very easy to deal with and some paid much better than others. Over the years, I dropped them one by one. Now I just accept one insurance company and I'm working less as I get near retirement, but earning more. I spend a lot of time explaining out-of-network benefits to clients and encouraging them to send in the super bills I provide them. Many don't, but I also find that a good gauge of how much a client can afford." The next commenter says, "My experience sounds similar to yours. I took the plunge in 2018 and terminated all of my insurance contracts. It was scary at first. I was burnt out and considering closing down my practice. Terminating insurance was my solution to lightening my load. A motto that I've had since I was a kid has been, if they can do it, so can I. I was inspired by colleagues who had successfully transitioned to private pay. I felt guilty telling my clients. I gave them a 90-day notice and most were understanding. About a third of my clients remained and were willing to pay out of pocket. It was slow to build back my practice in the beginning. I hadn't accepted new clients for about 4 years because I was so full when taking insurance. So I did reach out to colleagues to let them know that I was open to taking referrals. It took me about 1 year to build a full caseload, and most of my clients are from referrals or word of mouth. I'm feeling much more content and balanced with life now. I have the time, attention, and energy to focus on the parts that initially attracted me to the helping field. It sounds like you're listening to your inner guidance system. Good for you." Okay, and one more comment for good measure. "Hello, fellow Portland therapist. I say go for it. I only have a Psych Today profile and the majority of my clients are private pay. I'm only in network with one insurance company and that will probably change the next few years. If you're on any kind of Oregon listserv, you'll get folks easily. If you are wanting to hear more of these success stories, I highly recommend just searching on Reddit for therapists leaving insurance. There was actually lots of threads for me to choose from, but this one was succinct and had some really good comments that I wanted to touch on. All right, before we close out today, I want to make sure that you know about the ways that I can support you beyond this podcast. If you're in that early stage of private practice, thinking about launching or just getting started, the Complete Launch Kit was built for exactly where you are. It's a step-by-step course with 65 lessons that walks you through everything: forming your LLC, setting your rates, getting your systems in place, building your marketing foundation, and seeing your very first client without piecing it together from Google and Reddit threads. Everything you need in one place and in the right order. And if you're already in private practice, but your marketing feels inconsistent or honestly non-existent, that is what the HQ community is for. It's a done-for-you marketing system designed specifically for private practice therapists. Every week, you get social media prompts and blog post prompts, so you always know what to post. There's also a library of hours of expert trainings, and I can also personally review your website and your directory profiles and send you feedback at any time. You'll also get access to your very own Sidekick, which is an AI built tool specifically for private practice marketing that can turn a prompt into a polished caption, blog post, or newsletter in minutes, and all of that for just $37 a month. It is also worth throwing in today that I have a very in-depth marketing course called Find Your Niche, Fill Your Practice, which seems so needed to talk about today, given the topic at hand and the change that might need to take place in your marketing efforts. So if you're looking to refresh your marketing technique to begin to market towards private pay clients, this is the perfect course to get you there. And all of these will be linked in the show notes. All right, my friends, that is all I have for today. Take care of each other and yourselves, and we will see you next week.